thought we would start basically by just talking about what's happening. The 12 early enrollees and the one graduate transfer are in. Coach Hess is working really, really hard with the guys to get them prepared for spring practice that'll start the end of March. The 13 guys that are here look really good. And obviously we're not in pads, so we're watching them run, lift, and stretch. And Brian does such a great job in that area. With the new guys too, the nutritionist spends so much time with them, trying to make sure that they get the right eating habits and work on their weights and get the weight that we would want, the desirable weight to start spring practice. But the guys are good. We can go watch them work out. They can't work out with a football yet, so you can't say we can't even watch them throw or catch. But they're getting adjusted. They seem to be happy. They're doing well. So it is off to a very good start. We work the 12 early enrollees separate from the rest of the team because Brian Hess is really into training the guys and making sure they know what to do before they get hurt or do too much trying to show off to the older guys. So we'll keep them separate till about the week before spring practice, and then we'll work them in. One of the biggest differences in the time that I was out of coaching and coming back was the early signing date. So the second signing date's very different. We used to sign everybody obviously in February and have a big party and celebrate the guys and have all the staff over and thank them for the year in recruiting. And I just checked these numbers this morning. 87% of the prospects signed now in December. So 13% signed yesterday. So you start looking at what yesterday stands for. It's different for different people. The early signing date puts a tremendous amount of pressure on a new coach that's coming in. Because if somebody just left and you've been there a week or 10 days, I think we had 19 days from the time Bubba hired me. So it gave us a chance to have some good players that first year. But a lot of coaches don't have a chance to have a good year. So then they need the second signing date just to pretty much put things together so they can have a class. For us, we usually don't sign anyone in the second signing date, or I don't think we did last year, did we, Billy? And this year was different simply because we had Patrice Renee that transferred to Rutgers. We had Bryce Watts that transferred to UMass. And Javon Terry has a lower leg injury, lower body injury, and he will miss spring practice, and we're not sure he'll be ready to start in the fall. So we felt like after the signing class that we need another corner. And Billy High's office does a tremendous job of keeping guys out there in line. And I'll talk briefly about Dante Balfar. He was a guy that was committed somewhere else. And so we had no chance. And then the coach changed at that school. He was on our radar. And when it changed, we jumped on him immediately to start the second part of the recruiting class. So we felt really, really good about him and the addition. And then the way I understand this is that we ended up 14 with a composite overall ranking. We were 11th in the 24/7 sports, and that's without a 5-star Tony Grimes. So it would have been much higher. Could have been maybe the highest rated class we've ever had, and that's signing a lower number because you normally would have more than that. In the there was a number 10 on the average per player. So this is a very, very good class and should help us moving forward. And we'll expect this class, especially the 12 that came in early, to compete immediately and put themselves in a position to play for the fall. And then we'll have another group coming in, another 7 coming in May. We're also having competed everything they do. And we divide them up into teams right now as an entire team. And they get points if they eat the right meals, if they eat on time. They get points if they win the competition in lifting, and they get points for their team if they win the competition in running. So all of the guys right now are competing daily to help their team get where they need to be. Season ticket sales opened up yesterday, and they said the phones were ringing off the hook, and that's exciting for the future. We expect to sell all of our season tickets out again, and hopefully, if things continue to get better with COVID, we'll be able to have a full house next year and get back to earth. Our friend Eric Church is singing the national anthem on Sunday at the Super Bowl, so I can't wait to hear him. And we're working hard because it sounds like he may be repping some Carolina stuff while he's out there. So that would be fun for us too. But can't wait to hear him, and what a great compliment for him as we start looking at it. Goals for the spring are that expectations are going to be higher. So we're starting out at a different mark. And we lost 4,000 yards on offense. And we lost our leading tackler on defense. But we've got 10 starters back on defense and a lot of depth. We've got a lot of guys back on offense. We've got to try to get some experience and move forward in the running back room, because it'll be the least experience that we've got. And also, we lost some top receivers. We're lucky Bo Corrales is coming back, but some guys need to step up in that room as well. Before we go any further here, let's move this, Jeremy, and we'll let's watch a little video. Okay. No, I'm good. We'll go through this as quickly as we can for you. We love that Dante is a tall corner. He's got a lot of length at 6'2". We love the fact that he's plays basketball as well. Billy, this isn't moving forward. There we go. He's got great ball skills. You can see he not only breaks on the ball here, but he can return it. He catches the ball at a high point, and he's got really good speed. So we feel like he'll fit in that defensive back room very well. Very good ball skills, and we continually talk about getting a lot of turnovers. He can come off the corner. He's very physical. See, he's a big hitter. So we like everything about this guy. Plus, he's averaging over 20 points a game in basketball. And we love the fact that a guy's a really good basketball player. Billy's guys found him early. Like we said, we didn't think we had a chance. He's left-handed. It's exciting to see him jump that high and dunk the ball that easily. So we're very, very excited to have him coming in our room. And Dre did an outstanding job with him to recruit him, because he fell in love with Dre. One of the coaches at the high school really looked up to Dre when he was playing, and so they've had a really enjoyable time here in the recruiting process. And then you start looking at Ty Chandler. The reason we took Ty, and he was the only grad transfer that we took, is that we have an inexperienced running back room. And right now, that's an area that we needed an older player. And just a few things about Ty. 3,291 all-purpose yards, number 5 on Tennessee's all-time list. He rushed for over 2,000 yards and averaged nearly 5 yards per carry. He led Tennessee in 2018 and 19 in rushing, and he scored 17 touchdowns, 13 rushing and 3 receiving, and 1 kickoff return. And we're also losing our kickoff returner and our punt returner. So we feel like those are some things that he can do. He's really adjusted well. He's got top speed. He's tough, he's smart, He's adjusting very, very well. And we're excited about watching him. We've watched him run, but the players that have been around him really like him, and he's had a seamless transition. So he's moved very quickly. You see the speed here. He's also runs very good routes. He's got excellent hands out of the backfield. He's an older player that has got good vision and patience, and he can pass protect well. And losing the two backs that we lost, those are big holes to fill. Tough physical runner, 205 pounds. So it'll be a lot of fun to watch him in spring practice. And he likes the fact we've got all those offensive linemen back too. Okay, I think that's enough. Get that? Any questions before I introduce Coach Porter?
All right, guys, so just use the raise hand function and we'll get over to you momentarily. First question today will come from David Teal. Go ahead, David.
Mack, this is not a recruiting question, but Carolina was among the 6 schools participating in a study released this week on concussions in football that concluded more than 70% of the concussions occurred during practice and nearly half during fall training camp throughout an entire season. Should that affect the way college football coaches affect fall camp?
David, I haven't seen the study, and I stay in my lane. I don't get in the medical lane, but it's something that I'm sure our trainers and doctors will look at. Our chancellor is one of the best in research on everything about concussions, and we have a place here that studies it, looks at it, and treats those things later in life. So that's something I'll definitely ask our trainers about today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go over to Alyssa Ray, please.
Looking at Coach Porter's background, it looks like he's the Swiss Army knife of assistant coaches. How excited are you to bring him on staff here, especially considering your relationship with him in the past?
Alyssa, I'm very excited. When we lost Coach Gillespie, I wanted experience, and I always like familiarity with experience if I can get it. And Larry worked with us at Texas and did a tremendous job. Malcolm Brown was one of his players there that's still playing for the Rams, and he did a great job recruiting. And then he and Coach Searles worked together at Texas, but they had also worked together with Les Miles at LSU, where they won a national championship. And you go back and look at Larry's history. He's been a head coach. He was a really good running back himself at Memphis. And the players that he's recruited, including Jason Strobridge here and Daz Newsome here and Michael Carter here, plus so many guys that he's recruited and coached that played in the NFL. And then you add the fact that he's got 3 years of experience here. and had pro backs from here, I thought he was the perfect choice.
Okay, next up, Dina King, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, congrats on your recruiting class.
Thank you, Dana.
My question is, Coach Williams said that one of the things he misses is going to the gyms to watch these kids play and going in their living rooms and meeting the family and everything. What's your thoughts on not getting to do that with this past class and possibly this upcoming class?
Dana, Coach Williams is exactly right. Recruiting is about relationships, and we're not having those right now except for FaceTime and Zoom, and we can't have in-person contact. And it was okay with the 21s because we had a lot of those guys on campus, and we had met them and been around them before the COVID hit. But this year, we've got guys that were 2 years out for the 22 class. I actually said to one of our coaches the other day, "Why don't you like the guy?" He said, "Coach, I don't know him. I haven't met him. I haven't met his family." And that's so true. That's what's happening right now. And so it'll affect this class more. The fact that we will not be able to go watch these guys play in February, Dina's going to hurt all of us. The fact that we didn't have camps last year, the continuation of a recruiting process over a 2 and 3 year period is not happening now. And it's tough for the families too, because they don't get to see us. So I'm spending time on the phone more than ever before with prospects and families. And we all have to understand that nothing will change until the 15th of April. And then we're not sure what changes after that. So I do like the fact that the NCAA loosened up the rules for the 22s, so we can have better contact with them, and that will help us some. But it's this will be the hardest year to evaluate and recruit for both prospects and coaches that I've ever been around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, over to Ross Martin.
Hey, Coach Brown, I was wondering, I know that the early enrollees, you haven't seen them play actual football, but does anything stand out in particular about a couple of guys that you've seen so far, whether it be physically or just personality, or just a couple of notes on those early enrollee guys?
Ross, again, with 12 of them, unless we go over the whole group, we'll miss out on somebody. But the 2 linebackers can really run, and that we knew. But all 3 receivers are fluid, and they can fly. These guys looked well coached coming in. Diego Pounds is 6'6", 335, and can really move his feet and run. Then you've got 275-pound Jabari Ritzy, who actually ran cross country for his mom. And you've got a big country in Keyshawn Silver that's sitting there at he's 290 pounds at probably 6'5" or 6'6". So you just to throw out a few of those guys. Caleb Hood's 232 pounds and really strong. And that'll be one of the first things that Coach Porter will have to do is take a quarterback like a Leon Johnson and so many great ones that have played here and turn him into a running back. Because I think that he looks really good. Now, how fast will he come? Can he pass protect? Can he protect the ball? You go back, I'm sure the same thing was said about Ethan Horton and Leon Johnson, and they're 2 of the best backs we've had in our history. So in looking at all these guys, Dontavius Nash is tall and he can run. The happiest guy on campus is Tony Grimes because he's got a class. That he knows all these guys. Who am I missing in that group? Drake May obviously is he's fluid and more athletic than a lot of people give him credit for. Just watching him run. Tight end's not here. That's all the receivers.
I think DeAndre Boykins maybe.
Yes, DeAndre Boykins is he is a workout machine. I mean, you can tell he's worked out about every day of his life because he's in shape, he's strong, he'll play nickel for us, and the guys are really excited about him.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, Andrew Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, when you learned that Robert was going to Alabama, did Coach Porter's name kind of pop on your radar immediately? And can you kind of take us through the process of when you first started talking with him about coming back to Carolina and actually making the hire?
Yes, Andrew, I got a call on I think it was Friday afternoon, maybe Saturday afternoon at 4, and Robert was gone the next morning. So that's how fast it happens now. And I said, we've hired such a great staff. Everybody's after them. So I told them this morning, the staff meeting, I don't want you to call me more about other jobs. Just stay here and keep your mouth shut. But they're getting job opportunities every day, and thankfully we're staying. Robert would share this with you, but he said that it's 75 miles from his mother, and he hadn't seen her since COVID started for the grandkids. That was part of this, and they hired 2 pro coaches to work on offense, and that's something Robert wanted to look at too. So I understand him leaving. Immediately, you start looking at guys that you know and you've been around and you trust, and Larry Porter was the first one. I was so lucky we had maybe 50 people texting you immediately wanting the job, and some of them have played for us, some of them I've coached with, some of them I've watched from afar. They're doing great jobs, and I'll always look at someone who can recruit the area first. That's really important to me, that we get the best players in our footprint. I'll look at someone who's experienced, if I can, because if you have experience and you bring passion with it, then you've got knowledge with that experience. And if you bring that energy and passion, that's a great combination. And then I like somebody with familiarity of this state and this place. And Larry's done all that. And he'll recruit down around Charlotte because he's done that before. He'll recruit in Atlanta, and he did that some for Auburn. But I know him. I've been in that Oklahoma game with him. I've been in the Texas A&M game with him. I've been to big games with him, and I know how he'll respond. And he's a great father. He's a great husband, and his son is a scholarship player at Stanford. So he really believes in academics and character. So he was a no-brainer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go over to Isaiah Lucas.
Hey, Coach. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the walk-ons who recently received scholarships and the amount of work that they had put in order to earn those scholarships.
Yes, Isaiah, sometimes when people leave, and we had a few guys that graduated and were grad transfers, we had a couple other guys that entered the portal to leave. It leaves you with a scholarship for at least the spring and the summer that they would have had. And we felt like that you just start with Jonathan Kim. He had more kicks that couldn't be returned than anybody else in college football. And David was talking about concussions. A lot of concussions are on kickoff and kickoff return. So if you're kicking them out all the time, that really saves some wear and tear on your team. And so we thought he was vital, and he'd done a good job. He deserved that. Isaiah, the second one would be British Brooks, and British has been our special teams player of the year about every year. And he's done a really good job as a backup running back. He did a good job helping us at the bowl game when we didn't have our 2 guys. And he's earned that right to do that. The players love him. And then you start looking at Q Johnson, Curion. He started against Wake Forest, and he can play guard or center. And he stepped up throughout the season when we needed him. And again, he's tough. He was a defensive lineman when we got here, and we moved him over. And Brian Anderson's been our center, but when Brian sprained his ankle, we had to move Q in there to get him ready to take over. And he did a tremendous job. So we felt like it's always a morale lift for the team when you reward players who are not on scholarship for what they've done. And we thought that these three guys very definitely deserved it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Gregory Hall, go ahead.
Mack, I was curious your thoughts and if you had seen the EA Sports announcement of coming back to college football, and there had been some jokes thrown around about dancing videos of you being in the intro and whatnot, but just really your thoughts on kind of how this plays into factors with NIL and players getting back, getting compensated with being in a video game again.
Brandon, I think we're at such a different time right now in college sports. You've got the 1 year transfer, and right now that hasn't even been decided. You've got name, image, and likeness, which this is probably coming under, and it looks like it'll be a couple of years before they get it. The fact that they had an introduction video of me dancing that someone was laughing about. I think people have laughed at that for 2 years, so that's not new. I should probably get a kickback though. I mean, really. So I need to, Gregory, I need to look at that and see if there's something available that I should be talking to them about giving me some money to be embarrassed over. As I said, after the first dance after the South Carolina game, you have to understand. Here's a 69-year-old guy who grew up Church of Christ, who doesn't dance, which is obvious, that walks into a locker room really excited after we beat South Carolina, and ESPN's in there, and the players are screaming, dance, 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 dance. And I'd promised them if we beat South Carolina, I would. But let's be real here. I'd had a knee replacement on on June 3rd. There was no music. So I thought I did pretty good. Now, as soon as I walked out of the locker room, Sally said, "Oh my gosh, how embarrassing is that?" So I know that it wasn't good for her. I was talking to a recruit last night, and he said, "Coach, if I come, I may need to help you learn to dance." And I said, "You're in. Come on, man. I'll give it up. I have absolutely no pretension that I can dance." So, but I don't know where it's headed, Gregory. I think a number of things is, can they use the players' names? If they do they pay them for it? How much money are the players going to make? Because that's what all this is about. Is it like a jersey sale if somebody sells a jersey with your name on the back? So I really feel like the NCAA's got to step up and start helping us with telling us exactly where this thing is going. I was having lunch with Brian Anderson yesterday, and we were talking about it. He said, "Yeah, man, they're going to have the video games out." And Jeremy said, "No, it's going to be 2 years." So, I think there's a lot more talk right now than there is foundation for exactly what it's going to be, and that's kind of leaving the players hanging out. So I look forward to the day that we will have a definition of what name, image, and likeness means. We're all trying to do a better job of helping the players brand themselves and put themselves in a better position to get jobs when they get out. But as far as cash in hand, I'm just not sure right now, Gregory, where it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is CL Brown.
Hey, Mack, how important is staff continuity? I think a lot of times we might just be focusing on the players on the field who are returning, but where does that rank with you in terms of elevating the program?
CL, it's a great question because a lot of times I like staff continuity because everything's smooth. And right now our coaches can just plug Larry in, and we're talking to other places in the NFL, and we're talking to other universities that have done some cool things we like to see if we can tweak some things. If you have household changes on your staff, the good thing is you bring in a lot of new ideas and new energy, and the players have to recompete for their jobs, and nobody's comfortable. But at the same time, you lose the continuity. So at Texas, we had very few changes unless a guy took a head coaching job. We've had 2 changes here. We've had 3 in 2 years, one of which we made, and then the other 2 chose Florida and Alabama. But I don't like it unless it's best for them. And if it's best for the assistant coach that's leaving, it would be really, really wrong of me to say he shouldn't leave when I know it's best for him to leave. And usually that's how I talk to the coaches and say, I don't see this being better for you, or I got this, you should go. But I like the fact that Bubba and our administration stepped up. We're paying our guys better. Our coaches know that we have a chance to keep getting better and being really good. Recruiting's going well. There's more interest in coming here if we lose somebody now than there was 2 years ago. So I really don't see it being as big a detriment now as it would have been after the first year. And the second part of that, CL, would be that if a coordinator changes, it changes more than if it's a position coach, because then you have to look at bringing in another guy that fits the scheme you're running, or do you tweak what you've got and change it, or do you move one of your coaches up that's on your staff? So that gets a little bit more complicated.
All right, let's move over to Kira Luck. Go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. Hope you're doing well. I just have a quick question. I know this is kind of impossible to answer because every day is a little different, but going into this year, do you feel like you have a little bit more of a better understanding of, the pandemic, and a little bit more, how do I say it? Like you're just more, you're able to navigate it a little bit better than not knowing anything, and, just able to adjust a lot better than before.
Absolutely. This time last year, there wasn't COVID or a pandemic as we know it. It was even spring break before it. We were told we wouldn't have school, we wouldn't have spring practice. So at this point, we just thought it was signing day. And now what we're looking at more than anything else, Kira, is we're trying to bring in doctors or personnel that can explain to our players and our parents and our staff and families exactly what the vaccine means. When do you think that they can get it? Should they take it? What are the possible effects if there are any negative ones? So we would never tell anybody on our staff or team to take a vaccine. That's their decision. But we feel like that we need to educate them on the any risk or why they should take it, and that's our next step. Really, we feel like our medical team's done an unbelievable job with our staff of teaching us how to make this thing work. And now we've got to do it. We got to wear a mask. We've got to wash our hands. We've got to social distance. And you worry about the 13 new guys coming in because they haven't been in that system. But we gave them all big brothers and said one of the key things is that you're going to have to handle COVID right, because that it's still out there and it's still real strong. And I hope and pray, because the numbers are down in the hospitals, and hopefully the death rate's going to stop here soon, but at least slowing down some, that we're making some progress. But there's still unanswered questions. Do we have a high school clinic? When is it? Is it in person? Is it virtual? Do we invite somebody now and we can't even tell them if we're going to have it? Do we have our camps in June like we've always had? We feel like we can have spring practice because we had fall games. So we think we're good through spring practice. But all of the young recruits, as we talked about earlier, when can we come to campus, Coach? Can we come watch practice? And even the 7 signees that will not come till May can't come to watch practice. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions, but we are much more comfortable now at this point than we were this time last year.
All right, our final question for Coach Brown comes from Adam Smith.
Hey, Mack, building exactly off that, you were mentioning earlier to Deanna about the challenges with evaluating during these times in terms of recruiting and stuff, like the personal touches that you don't have. What do you miss about that? I can only assume that you would feel like that's an area where you excel, given all the experience that you have and the people you know and the people you've met. Like what are the personal touches that you miss that you don't have?
Adam, again, good question. You don't have a personal relationship the same over Zoom or in FaceTime that you do when you're in the home or you're eating dinner with the family, and you can see so much more about how they interact and who they are. And the family is such a vital part of how we recruit. I love to watch guys play basketball. I'm asking them to send me basketball video now because they're playing basketball. There have been a lot of camps that some of you guys have put on that have helped us. We can't even weigh them and measure them. We can't see them. So you really have to depend on the high school coach. You've got to depend on people that you trust, that see them and around them. We're not going to get to see them play, which is tough. So when you don't have them in camp and you don't get to see them play, and you don't get to see them play basketball, you don't get to see them work out, you don't get to see them run, and you have to build a personal relationship over Zoom, it's just different. It's not as much fun. And the same for the families. So we're really going to have to lean on the high school coaches and trust them. Obviously they love their kids, so we've got to make a decision there. And the other thing, Adam, that's so difficult right now is we're not sure how many we can sign next year. So 22s are saying, man, I want to come. And we're saying, well, let's hold off here a little bit. We're still not sure with the change in the NCAA rule that you actually are allowing guys to everybody to have another year. What does that do to our numbers? And you're going to be really heavy with younger people on your team. Everybody is. So are you going to have room to bring in another full class? And if you aren't, then 4 years from now, you're going to have a void on your team. So there's a lot of unanswered questions out there about recruiting that we just need to get answered. We're trying to have virtual tours, and it's amazing all the things that we sat for an hour yesterday with our staff and talked about what can we do within the rules that's different. We knew these kids last year. We don't know these as well. So what can we do? How do you get to know them as well? How do they get to know each other? Because the interaction of guys that want to play together is important too. So we're all in a process right now of trying to work through that. And Mark, I think that was my last one.
Yes, sir.
And I'm very excited to introduce Coach Larry Porter to you. Again, we've got an inexperienced room of running backs, so who better than to bring in a head coach that's been one of the best position coaches in the country. He's coached running backs. He's also coached tight ends and H-backs. He's also was one of the top special teams coaches in the country at Auburn. So he brings so much expertise. I trust him. I've seen him coach on the field. I've been in meetings with him, and our running backs are going to love him. So here's Coach Porter.